AFTV Julian, 3-0 to the Arsenal, and what? Not mathematically through, but virtually through.
Yes, it is basically virtually through. I think Villa in 9th place, they would have to, but there'd have to be a 7-goal swing in their favour and win the game, and then everyone else below us win, or maybe I think one below us draw, and we lose quite significantly against a team in Girona who have zero chance of doing anything, so you can't really say they're playing for anything other than pride, and I'm not sure how much pride they can have with the position that they're in.
Yeah, so a good night's work.
A very good night's work if you just look at the scoreline, and also, you know, looking back on it, I think that's the 8th game we've played in the Champions League at home where we haven't conceded a goal in the last 2 seasons. The only goals we've conceded in the Champions League at home have been against Bayern Munich, those 2. So when you look at actually our home performances in the Champions League, they're pretty much second to none. We're really best in Europe. Then we are the best in Europe. We have the Champions League trophy for home games.
Yeah, well, listen, we need the Champions League trophy, full stop. It's all going to, you know, I'm asking a lot of people tonight about signings, you know. What do we need to get over the line in a competition like this? I mean, it's a very difficult competition to win. There's still the league to play for just about. But, you know, I mean, we saw a couple of players come back tonight. Wanyeri's back. And, you know, that was great to have an option off the bench in bringing him on. But is that going to be enough in these competitions that we're still remaining in?
Yeah, well, as I said, and you said, it was a good night's work. We look at the scoreline, but then you've also got to consider the opposition. And the opposition, I don't often agree with many things Lee said, but he said they're worse than Tottenham. They were significantly worse than Tottenham. I think they're the worst team that I've seen come here. That they just didn't seem to have anything, and some of the play that we did, we talk about what we need, is we can get blindsided by the result, because there was still a lot of mistakes both at the back. I remember Kivior was sort of messing around with the ball. I think Timber did something similar, and had we been playing better opposition, then we would be punished for that, and we weren't punished because of the quality of the opposition rather than the quality of our play. So I think the first thing you need to look at, if you want to win things, you've got to cut out the stupidity. And tonight they didn't cut out the stupidity, it was just the stupidity wasn't punished because of the quality of the opposition, which was really poor. And on the subject of poor opposition, I think it's time to talk about their fans and our policing, because it was absolutely disgraceful when Arsenal players went to take a corner. Yes, they might have been throwing plastic bottles at them, but that's only because they didn't have anything else to throw. It's disgraceful. Had we been doing anything like that in Europe, then I'm sure we'd have been tear gassed, batons across our faces, and that they take these things really seriously. Our police, they all sort of dress the part. They all look like RoboCop when they were lining up against them, and just watch them get away with it. It was absolutely disgraceful. And that behaviour at football matches, I thought was long gone. And at least if it happens, it gets punished. I didn't see any punishment whatsoever.
Yeah, no. I mean, you know, like you said, there were plastic cups, so I guess maybe the police just looked on it and thought, right, they're plastic cup, but it was still disgraceful them throwing those on.
Yeah, and you can still fill a plastic bottle with water, and it still becomes quite heavy.
Yeah. And we know other things get filled in those things sometimes. So disgraceful. But back on the football, signings. Do you want to see, do you want to see Arsenal go out whatever and go and make that big signing this January, or do you? I know you always are quite a reasonable person in your thing. Do you think it is important that books are balanced and that we, you know, only buy a player if they're worth it?
So, as a short-term fan, looking at the moment, and a lot of us do live in the moment, I want to see them go out and spend every penny they've got and some to bring the player in to make me happy today. But I also want to be happy tomorrow, and I want to be happy next season. And I think Leeds got into this predicament probably about 20 years ago now, when they were happy in the moment, and a few years later they'd gone bust. And the last thing I want, for me, this love of Arsenal, it's for a lifetime. And one thing that's never going to change, things have changed in your life. You know, I've had different girlfriends, I've had a wife, but one thing that's always going to be constant for me is Arsenal. So I want Arsenal to be in a healthy situation for the rest of my life. So if I look at it long term, no, I don't want them to go out and break the bank and break themselves, but I do understand that they've got to go spend money because we are short. I just want it to be, look, football's not realistic when it comes to the amount that's spent on transfers, but just don't put us at any risk. Just don't put us at any risk. If you can afford it, go do it. Maybe push it out a little bit more than you can afford, but don't do anything that's going to stop us then doing the business that we want to do in the summer that's going to give us the long-term happiness. Because for me, I do like a bit of short-term gratification, like we all do, but long-term happiness, I suppose, is the mature way to be.
But are they going to win anything? You know, you've got a little clap there, and that is a logical thing to say. But we all want to win something this season.
Yes.
And there's still a lot of things to be won. So if it is pay a bit over, why not?
Yeah, and that's what I said. Pay a bit over, because you are going to have to do that in January. But all this business about people screaming and shouting, it's 23 days of the transfer window, we've done nothing. The way this business is done, the transfers happen in the last few days. If you want to spend 20 million more to do it a week before the transfer window, then go ahead and do it. But for me, that's not worth it. Wait till the end, be a little bit smart, and Arteta is smart. Lee's been criticising Arteta's response about that he's loving it, but that was a great response, because the last thing you want to do is say, oh yeah, we're absolutely desperate for a striker. What does that mean? You know, that means in the real world of business, the price has just gone up 20 million. So unfortunately, Lee's going to get upset because he doesn't understand the business side of things, and he doesn't understand sarcasm and deflection, but he's going to be happier in the long term because Arsenal aren't going to have to pay 20 million more for someone, and then in the summer they can go out and do proper business.
Do you think some of us fans, probably including me, we're being a bit irrational in thinking that we can go and get some of these big signings, and that we just need to be more patient?
Yeah, well, I don't think you have been. I think you've been quite...
no, I've been vexed as well. I want a striker.
Yeah,
and I want us to pay over the odds if that's what it takes.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want them to pay ridiculous money, so it stops us doing.
Who told you that?
You did. You do. You
no. Listen, if you pay 20 million over the odds right now, get him.
Yeah. So all right. So let's say you pay 20 million pound for a 5 million pound player. Is that all right?
No, but if
all right.
If you pay 80 million right now for a 60 million pound striker, I get it. You pay way over the odds.
Okay.
But we need it. I'll have it.
All right. And in a week's time, you pay 60 million. What's better?
Yeah, I know, but we're
let's get on to the Wolves thing. Another thing, I like listening to Lee because it gives me so much. I've got so much to say about what other people talk about because it gives you ideas. He's saying, well, it's going to be a really tough game it's going to really be a tough game against Wolves. We're never going to outscore Wolves. You only got to look at the table. We're second. What have we got? 44 points. They're 17th. I think they've got something like, I don't know, whatever points they've got, 17, 18. The goal difference, plus 22 for us, minus 19 for them. What planet is he living on to say we can't outscore Wolves? It doesn't make any sense. So why would we have to pay 20 million now because we're not going to outscore Wolves? It just makes no sense to me. I think keep your money, not all of it, because you do have to spend, and I'm definitely not saying don't spend, but just be a little bit sensible. You can't be totally sensible with football because it's got out of hand anyway, but just don't break the bank, give us a chance to be long-term successful.